for Larry with deepest gratitude for his wit, his wisdom, and his friendship. Thank you, my friend. And Larry's has a much appreciated and very bizarre sense of humor, which I greatly appreciate. I think you might like this next one. It's next essay is on competitive eating. Aside from war and public executions, I can't imagine a more unsettling public spectacle than competitive eating contests. Also called speed eating, it seems that pretty much anything that can be consumed in these competitions will be. Tacos, butter, hot peppers, gyros, oysters, asparagus, pork brains, and even cockroaches are just some of the menu favorites. Interestingly, Major League Eating is an actual organization that oversees these eating contests nationwide. I've seen brief videos of hot dog and chicken wing eating competitions, and I'm totally grossed out. I've read where some of these affairs charge admission to raise money for local food banks, soup kitchens, and the like. All well and good, but I'm not one who would pay to see such gluttony, nor would I attend even for free. Somehow, witnessing one of these gastrointestinal orgies replete with sights and sounds and the inevitable resultant physical after effects of the participant is not my idea of fun. I wonder if there are such contests involving chowder, cream corn, or raw eggs. Now that would be gross. I told you, using's on pretty much anything. The next one is called It's a Date. And interestingly, I just read a column in the paper the other day about this. It answers some of these questions, but anyhow. Those dates that manufacturers put on their products confuse me so. Chips, nuts, canned goods, beverages, baked goods, cereals, medications, cake mixes, dairy products, eggs, and others all have them, even though they are sometimes difficult to locate and often impossible to decipher. I understand what a best by date is, and I truly appreciate that bit of information, as if the manufacturer is saying, after this date, you're on your own. The way I figure it, if I use a product before this date and it's bad, I could return it for a refund, right? A certain brand of beer has, or used to have, a born on date. What's that for? Is the brewer suggesting their beer has life? I know some accomplished beer, their magic elixir, accomplished beer drinkers who'd likely agree. What about dairy products? Milk and cream merely have a date stamped on their container. Nothing specifies if this is a used by, best by, born on, or don't you dare consume this after date. And then there's that pesky, seldom seen sell by date, which raises a whole host of business and personal concerns, both ethical and gastrointestinal. As consumers, I guess we're left to our own devices here, and these have proven reliable to me. If my coffee cream curdles and my milk tastes bitter, or neither is actually a liquid anymore, if my cheese and or bread has developed those fuzzy little greenish turquoise flower-like decorations, if my can of chunky soup is no longer chunky and or has distorted itself to the point where it resembles a metal football on the verge of exploding, I don't use them. Other than the aforementioned best by dates, what exactly do these other dates mean? That, turn it over.
It's a good one, Bob. Very good.
Chapter 4. Pete pulled his gray Dodge Ram pickup into the busy parking lot as Lugnut's tail whipped enthusiastically against his arm. You know where we are, buddy. Morgan's tractor and feed had been a fixture in the town of Franklinville for over 70 years and It was still a popular shopping and gathering place, especially on Saturday mornings. Continuing and expanding his father's business, Dan Morgan stocked everything from hardware to pet food to livestock and farm supplies. He had added an inviting cafe corner with freshly brewed coffee, donuts, and a few small tables for friends to congregate and catch up on the local news. As long as dogs were on a leash and well behaved, they were allowed. This was Lugnut's idea of heaven, as he was always guaranteed a tasty treat from whoever was behind the counter. Yep, Pete continued as he parked and undid his seatbelt while Lugnut bounced around, yipping joyfully. This is the place we go when we need a change of scenery every damn Saturday. Despite the bitter edge in his voice, he always felt better watching his dog's excitement. He was catching, something he could count on, and he felt a welcome sense of contentment as he attached the leash to Lugnut's collar and got out of the truck with the dog already pulling him along. The store was pleasantly busy, and Pete took his time, browsing the aisles and nodding to the regulars he often saw there. Pausing in front of a rack filled with agricultural magazines, he picked one out and immersed himself in an article for innovative vegetable gardens. At the same time, Lugnut sniffed and explored as far as his leash would allow. Well, hello there, handsome. I haven't seen you here before. Pete leaned around the rack to see a woman near the counter hunched down, affectionately massaging the dog's face and ears as he whimpered in bliss, begging for more. That's Lugnut, Dan said from behind the counter. Lugnut, the woman repeated in horror. Who on earth would name such a beautiful dog Lugnut? That guy, Dan laughed as he pointed at Pete. The woman straightened and eyed him with disapproval. Pete shuffled his feet momentarily. Well, I own a garage, and he's kind of the mascot, he offered. The woman shook her head, then turned toward the counter. Dan, my John Deere tractor mower needs an overhaul. I've been putting it off, and I need to order the tune-up kit. Can you get that for me? Dan reached under the counter. Let's see what we can do. What's the model? It's the 1950 Model A. Okay, Breezy, hang on while I check. Breezy? Escaped Pete's lips. She turned back to him. You're the lady who rescued the fox last night. I'm the guy who hit it. Pete Logan, how's it doing? It had canine distemper, and we had to pass it over, she said. You mean put it down? We passed them over. There was a hint of reproach in her tone. I'm sorry he didn't make it. Don't be. You actually saved him from a long, painful death in the wild. Pete nodded slowly, then continued. Listen, if you don't mind, I heard you talking to Dan. I'm a mechanic. I love the old tractors, and I've worked on a few of them. If I could save you a little time and money, I'd be happy to take a look at it for you. Breezy eyed him briefly. Thank you, but it's not necessary. She returned her attention to the counter. I'll vouch for him, Dan interrupted. Pete owns Logan's Automotive. He does all of my work, and he's the best. You can ask just about anyone else here, and they'll tell you the same thing. Jumping into the opening, Pete added, I could come by today and check it out if you want. What's wrong with you? His brain asked his mouth. Why are you being so pushy? She glanced at him again, then pursed her lips. Okay, 1 o'clock would be fine, but only if you bring Lugnut. As Pete got back into his truck, Breezy left the store and walked to her truck, parked nearby. He noticed as he had the night before how petite she was. But that was all he'd seen of her in the darkness with her bulky rain gear. Today, though, he'd sensed she was a strong-minded, independent woman. The soft cluster of blonde curls around her face contrasted with her challenging sapphire blue eyes. Still very guarded and rarely making eye contact, she was just as mysterious as when he'd met her. He couldn't deny that this second unexpected encounter had left him even more curious. As he started his truck, he looked over at Lugnut, panting and seeming to smile from ear to ear. So we're both happy, Pete said as he headed for home. You got a face rub and a treat, and I've got a chance to look at a vintage tractor. What he didn't want to admit to himself was that he looked forward to seeing Breezy again. Just one more scene. Just for background information, Obi Ron is a close family friend who also cares for animals. I'll be mentioning him. That Monday morning, Breezy had a goal. Get up extra early to check on her rescued seagull, take care of the aviary, then go to Obi's place and take her time caring for his animals. Anything to avoid running into Pete Logan again when he came to tune the tractor. Why did he unnerve her so? It wasn't his fault. He was kind, courteous, helpful, and as much as she hated to admit it, funny in his self-deprecating way. All of those things made him appealing, and he was good-looking besides, probably better looking than her quick glances had fully allowed her to notice. But she was already aware of his dark hair with graying temples and the deep blue eyes. Haven't Haven't you learned your lesson enough times? She scolded herself aloud as she headed across the yard to check on her seagull. He's probably married, and even if he isn't, don't even go there with your record. After the last disastrous relationship, she decided to give up on men and concentrate on something she could do for the rest of her life, the rescue and care of animals. They loved unconditionally and never let you down. Breezy refocused on the gull. She had texted Elaine a couple of photographs of the wrap she had done on the wing and had assured her that she hadn't found any evidence of any broken bones. Always attentive and encouraging, Elaine had commended her for her good work. The rest of Saturday and part of Sunday, the bird seemed to be improving. She hoped to be able to release it soon before she bonded any further with the beautiful creature. But later yesterday, the gull had seemed slightly lethargic and uninterested in its food. Although she knew from experience that was not a good sign, Breezy had told herself that there had been enough improvement to stay optimistic. "How's my sweetheart?" she sang out, expecting to hear the flutter of anticipation that had greeted her the past 2 days. In the silence, her steps slowed as she rounded the cage. The gull was on its side. She frantically grabbed at the latch and rushed inside. The bird was unresponsive, but still slightly warm to the touch. Breezy crouched, gathered it into her arms, and held it close, knowing it was gone, but hoping it could somehow still sense her love. As Pete pulled into Breezy's driveway, he told himself it didn't matter if she was home, but he realized it did matter when he saw her truck. He found himself thinking about her since he'd been with her on Saturday. "You've just got too much time on your hands," he reasoned. But as he parked it and got out with Lugnut, he looked around, hoping to see her. "Hello, Lugnut," Hannah greeted as she came out of the house and the dog scampered up the porch steps. "Oh, and you too, Pete," she called out jokingly as he went to the back of his truck. Hannah laughed. "Well, he does upstage you." "All the time." By then she had reached him. "Thank you for picking up the kid." "No problem. I had to get a couple of things there this morning anyway." "Well, the tractor's there. Let me know if you need anything. The coffee's always on." "Thanks. Hey, how's that gull doing that Breezy got on Saturday?" "She's out back checking on it now. Go ahead. You can see for yourself." "I think I will." Pete headed across the backyard with Lugnut ambling beside him. A formation of about a dozen black and white pigeons swooped overhead, banked in a steep turn, and circled back around as if to check him out. As he approached the woods, he didn't see Breezy in the aviary or any of the holding cages. He was about to call out when he glimpsed her from the back, seated on the ground next to the seagull cage, cradling the lifeless body of the bird. Suddenly feeling like an intruder, he was about to leave when a small twig snapped under his foot and she turned. When she saw him, she quickly looked away. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to." As she lowered her head again, he couldn't walk away and instead moved closer. "What happened?" he asked. There was a brief silence in which he thought she might not answer. "She passed. I failed her," Breezy finally said. "What do you mean?" "She must have had an internal injury I didn't find." "How could you have found that?" "I should have. I didn't check carefully enough." Pete looked at her profile, set in self-condemnation, and something in him wanted to comfort her. "Well, I was there and saw how careful you were, and I don't know what more you could have done." "That's because you don't know anything about it." Not letting her rebuke put him off, he knelt beside her and reached over to stroke the soft feathers. "I think you're being too hard on yourself." He sensed the slight tension in her as she stared straight ahead, yet he didn't feel unwelcome. As he sneaked a sideways look at her face, he was close enough to see the softness of her skin and the exquisite bold shape of her lips. But there was a fiery determination in her eyes that warned him not to get too close. "I know one thing," he said. "That gull was lucky. You picked it up and it died knowing it was loved." "Where did that come from?" Pete's empathy even surprised him. She closed her eyes. "I suppose so. I know it," he said. They sat in silence for several more moments before he felt it was time to leave her alone again. "Can I help you with anything before I start on the tractor?" "No, thanks." He stood and held out his hand. "Come on, let me help you up." At first he thought she would refuse. Then she took his hand and quickly released it when she was standing. Before he could think of anything more to say, she walked away, still holding the gull, and he was an outsider again. Yet, as he headed back across the yard, he felt oddly renewed. Breezy had brought out something in him he never knew was there.